Okay, let's find our feet flat on the floor. Feel our bodies being supported by the chair wherever we're sitting. Let's take a couple of deep breaths in through the nose and a big sigh out the mouth. One more big breath in through the nose and sigh. And breathing in and breathing out. Notice the sensation of the breath coming in through the nose and out through the nose. And breathing in and breathing out, just notice the sensations in your body, your feet on the floor, your body sitting on the chair or wherever you are. And let's have a good conversation today, y'all. About community and connection.
Let's do it.
Amen. All right. So how are folks doing today?
Yeah, let's check in. Do you want to start? Anyone in particular?
I can start. My name is Andy. I use he/him pronouns. I am a trauma-responsive massage therapist at Connect under the name Triangle Wellness Bodywork. And I feel moved to share that I came to doing that because when I started transitioning, I knew that massage was helpful in my life, but I didn't feel comfortable getting massages anymore. So I knew that there had to be other people out there that were also missing that that care, that there was a need in the community. So here I am doing that work. And today I am actually feeling pretty good. You two know that, I kind of struggle with some chronic illness, feeling brain fog and struggling with eating sometimes, which makes it difficult for me to do things sometimes. But y'all are supportive of me when I'm, in my down moments, and I'm very happy to be feeling nourished and resourced for our conversation here today. So does anybody else feel moved to share next?
Yeah, I will share. Thank you for starting us off.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just reminds me that, we have been here for each other, first and foremost, and that's what brought us together to do this work. And my name is Liberty. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm also the founder of Awakening Creatives, LLC, one of the co-owners of Connect. I'm a coach and a DEI consultant, an educator. And in my work, I am concerned with community and the health of community and what it means, what community liberation and well-being means, and I hope to foster that conversation. And one of the reasons being that I have suffered from isolation and loneliness for my whole life, being the child of a divorced family, and kind of always seeking where I belong, and have found that belonging within our organizing group, and even more so within Connect since we started to organize. But I'm feeling excited about today because we have been having these conversations for years now, and have gone through quite a journey of getting to actually opening up Connect in a space where we could share this conversation with more people. So I'm jazzed.
I'm jazzed that you're jazzed.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing. Let me take a breath real quick. Past few weeks have been pretty hectic. I'm juggling a lot, so today was also also pretty hectic, so it's good to be here. I'm very grateful to be able to have a space like Connect during all of this hecticness to come and take care of myself in the space with the tools that are available in the space. My name is Dakota Gonzalez. I am a licensed massage therapist. Me and Andy actually used to rent an office out and sort of had that business relationship before Connect. I've been doing this for 10 years. I specialize in myofascial therapies and craniosacral therapy, many different modalities, lymphatic release, and I like to hold educational spaces to empower folks to feel more aware of their body and feel empowered with anatomical knowledge to be able to self-regulate and co-regulate with each other. So yeah, I'm excited about today, excited to talk with y'all in this conversation, and yeah, just be here today.
Absolutely. Yeah. So by our powers combined, we want to. Does anybody want to start off talking about what motivated us to start Connect?
Quite a few things, huh? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there was the urgent need of like, we want accessibility, and me and Andy were facing challenges with accessibility to folks with disabilities in our workspace, and we're like, we need to find a space where we can cater to all of our people that we're trying to care for, and Liberty was trying to get the heck out of a home office situation.
Post-pandemic, I was ready to get out of the house.
Feeling lonely.
And I'm also a community psychologist, and who is a community psychologist without being out in the community
Right.
interacting? So once it felt like safe enough to come out, we could palpably sense this need, collective need, not just for ourselves, but like in everyone we talk to, wanting to connect and having a lot of reservations and fear around doing that, but also like the bone deep need for gathering again.
Yeah, and there seemed to be like a lack of space catering to the demographics that we are catering to, and to just gather in a certain authentic way. There's a lot of like yoga studios for doing yoga, and like spaces for very specific things, but not quite an eclectic space like you would see in like the West Coast, where me and Liberty were living for a while. You see a lot more eclectic, open, connective spaces for community to come together and get their needs met.
Absolutely. Yeah, certainly collectively, all the people that, a lot of the people that I know coming out of the pandemic, we were all got used to being isolated, and it's pushed us to depend more on technology, which is, I'm sure you can probably speak more about it as a community psychologist, how like it's just not the same level of connection. And
well, you guys know as body workers that when we're not, in the same room together, our bodies are not able to co-regulate. We pick up a lot of information from each other's electromagnetic fields when our hearts are pumping in the same room, and we're having feelings, and we just don't get quite the same information. So being in the same room with one another is really powerful.
I agree, and I think as a bodywork, I know Andy might be able to relate with this. I reflect with other body workers, and during the pandemic, we were noting that like the energetic load and the stress level that people were bringing into the treatment rooms were almost like you were working on two people, because in like the feeling that you would have after working on someone was just that much heavier during the pandemic, because of how lonely and stressed and disconnected people were feeling from their bodies. So big needs.
So there was a lot of intersecting need and impetus that we felt just amongst ourselves to open up Connect. And, in late stage capitalism, there's a lot of like systemic reasons why these disconnections are happening. And as part of the queer community, queer phobia is one of the things that keeps queer people in their houses. to be quite honest, and it requires that that armoring up and layering of protection to go out into the world and interact socially. So yeah, just all these systemic barriers to connection. And then once we opened, right around the same time, the U.S. Surgeon General put out a report on the epidemic of loneliness and isolation. And that's literally like the wording that was used. And I'm like, okay.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like halfway through reading it, but I know that you read it and wrote a blog post about it on our website. So I would love to hear more about what you got from it.
I mean, it's pretty compelling to have this coming from the government itself. It's like, it was kind of affirming for me. Yeah. Like, oh, this isn't just in our heads.
And there's so much research. I mean,
extensive.
Yeah.
Extensive research.
What was the fact it threw out in the study?
Well, so there's a lot of things, facts. There's a lot of facts, but there's trends around social connection that have been studied for decades. And one of the trends is that rapidly declining social connection in communities is leading to myriad health impacts. So literally being disconnected is bad for your health, to put it like bluntly, to the point where, this is a quote from the report, the mortality impact of being socially disconnected is similar to that caused by smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
Pretty intense.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Makes my throat hurt, actually, hearing that statistic.
I know, your body reacts. You're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. The sadness and chronic depression and just that lack of co-regulation with other people is a part of that. But the studies are finding that the highest prevalence of loneliness and isolation are among people with disabilities, financial insecurity. Obviously, if you're going chasing after money, like you don't have time for connection. That comes secondary. People who live alone, people who have structural isolation, single parents included. And then, we have marginalized communities, ethnic and racial minority groups, and the LGBTQ plus community, which is close to our hearts. And it's clear that in my own experience of trying to find mental health care and just care in general, that the systems that are in place and the existing community institutions, the church used to be a really central organizing feature of a community. Well, a lot of LGBTQ plus people don't want to go into a church. And these, the systems just are not sufficient to shift the trends of isolation. So the report advises on, how to cultivate social connection in community to foster these healing effects that community can have. And it outlines a number of pillars of cultivating connection in communities. The number one pillar to advancing social connection is to strengthen the social infrastructure in local communities. So you can do this by establishing and scaling community connection programs and investing in local institutions that bring people together.
And it's like getting neighbors to know each other is such a deep need. I remember one of the statistics in the report was that 3 out of 10 people know their neighbors by name, period.
Yeah.
That's sad.
And that's not even saying that they like have a deep relationship where they like feel comfortable, like just know their name, period.
Oh my gosh.
So
yeah, and I think another one there was like 16%. Only 16% of people feel connected to their communities.
Yeah.
Oh,
16.
That just hurts my heart.
I know.
Yeah.
But and there's such a benefit to being acquainted with your neighbors. Another interesting thing on the positive side that I remember is that if you know your neighbors, neighbors are much more likely to be the actual first responders over professional first responders in the event of a natural disaster.
Oh,
So,
yeah, so true.
you know, when your power goes out, when, you know, maybe your dog runs out, you know, it doesn't have to be a natural disaster,
Yeah.
but
Icy roads.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
can't get
So
out of the
if-
Need a cup of
neighborhood,
sugar.
Right.
Simple. It could be simple, yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's just it's so much easier to get your needs met when you're connected to your community.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Have someone, hey, there's some funny activity outside your house. Are you aware of that?
And it just seems so basic. Like humans have been living this way for forever. It's only these trends are only being seen in the last several decades.
Especially in America too. I want to say that like we have a neighbor who's not from American culture, and he personally came over and introduced himself and was like, "I will watch, watch out for your house." And that it felt like very much an
Yeah.
American thing of like this culture of disconnect and like
Yeah.
isolation and individualism.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah. So what does it look like to create a culture of connection?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's a whole other pillar of like the U.S. Surgeon General's plan to shift these trends is to cultivate that culture of connection, cultivating values of kindness, respect, service, and a commitment to one another. And this can be done in a whole variety of ways. It can be modeled through positions of leadership and influence. But the one that is really pertinent to us is expanding the conversation within our, the conversation around connection within our communities. And that's what we're trying to do at Connect. That is, I mean, aside from the trauma-informed services that we provide that provide mostly one-on-one connection, we want to model what this can look like through our facilitation style and our programming.
Yes.
So that's one of the things I would say that sets Connect apart is that we are trying to embody these different values that foster connection.
Absolutely.
It's in our name. Connect community. We want to connect community. That's it.
Absolutely.
For well-being.
Yeah, for the sake of well-being, we want to connect community.
Yeah.
Very
So
good.
it's going to require transforming this culture of disconnection or, a culture of oppression to a culture of connection and healing justice. And in order to do that, we need to embody a variety of values. And we do this in our programming, which we'll explain in a little bit. But some of the values that we're talking about are the values of mutuality and cooperation and resilience, reciprocity, interdependence, open communication,
Very important.
self-determination. And if you don't know what some of these words mean, we'll get into this in a little bit. But another thing that we really want to do at Connect is creating more possibilities, fostering that these conversations where we can dream a little bit, we can expand a little bit, and imagine what else is possible. If it not this, then what? And as a coach, I'm constantly trying to invite my clients and community members into this conversation of like, what else is possible here?
Right. Yeah. And I think, we had to choose a structure for our organization. We are still working within certain systems.
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Capitalism, yes.
Yes.
Let's just call it what it is: capitalism and colonialism, those sorts of those things. So, in order to have access to this space, we had to make some sort of decisions, and we chose to do an LLC because we believe that gave us more freedom to then expand further into other possibilities, right?
Yeah. It seemed maybe the easiest for us to all integrate our personal businesses into.
Yeah, I mean,
this.
there's the structural piece of it that we didn't have the luxury of time
We felt
and
urgent.
capital to imagine like the most elaborate nonprofit structure, or, you know, we just had to make a choice and move on it because, you know, we have to survive within the system. So we already had LLCs, and it just made sense. Not to say that there aren't more possibilities.
Right.
Yeah,
we are open to that conversation within all of this. It is
how to make this possible, because this
how do
dream
we
is
do?
important to us. And,
Yeah.
you know, we want to make it accessible to folks to have these kinds of spaces. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of access, one thing that's coming to mind for me is that like having a brick and mortar business is just inaccessible to a lot of people with
Right.
various marginalizing identities. You know, us as trans people, and like how many trans-owned businesses are there in St. Louis?
Barely a handful,
Right.
at
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
You know,
And, you know, I know some of those folks personally, and they're struggling just as hard as we are. It's like there's a reason that a lot of businesses that we're seeing around are either large corporations because they have the capital to be able to do this. And the result of that is that those communities that, you know, whatever business owner shares, we have limited options of where we can gather. I going out as a trans person, I'm very lucky that I pass now, that I can go into a men's restroom and not worry about violence. But not everybody has that luxury, and the fact that they can come to connect and know that they're safe is not nothing.
No, it's not, especially given the political climate
Right.
and what we're facing this year, you know, and locally in this state with anti-trans legislation, and also the presidential election is creating a lot of social tension amongst people, you know, and one of the statistics in that report is, I'm sorry, not in the report, but in other research around social connection, is that the majority of people, a crazy majority, I think it's like 80% or something, don't quote me on that, but it's in the blog post.
Yeah.
A large number of people have either 0 or 1 person that they can talk to about important issues. So we have all these people who are walking around with this anxiety around important issues in their lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not nothing. It's something.
Yes.
very something.
So, I mean, we're asking people at Connect to show up in a pretty vulnerable way, and sometimes it's hard for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you've been hearing from some of the people that have come to Connect and have taken that plunge?
Yeah,
the
it's
first step is really hard, huh?
It's not a small thing. I mean, you hear it from people at yoga studios, for example. Like there's a whole variety of reasons why somebody would be anxious to go into a yoga studio where they're moving their body, they're going to be seen. All of those things are there. And then when you add social connection on top of that as like a central focus, then you get all of the things around social anxiety, and you know, a lot of these things are systemic, like we mentioned before about the pandemic and about social isolation within our institutions and everything. But there's also the aspect of trauma.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
We've all been through some stuff, y'all.
Everyone has
in
layers.
our lives, whether that was in childhood or in adulthood. There's all sorts of anxieties about, you know, if I'm gonna say the wrong thing, and if you know, if our politics gonna align, or you know, coming from a queer perspective, like, are people gonna respect my pronouns? Are they gonna judge me? You know, if coming to any type of movement class, there's body image issues. So I mean, what else have you heard?
Well, and like myself as a neurodivergent person and people that share that experience that show up like big time, like, am I going to miss a social cue? Am I going to be
Totally.
like, am I going to be bad in some way for how I naturally show up? Are people going to give me that second chance to repair if I do
huge.
something that was maybe just a mistake? And how do we like navigate, boundaries and comfort levels in a way that honors everyone's humanity? We don't have a lot of models for how to do that.
It's true.
And it's one of those things that you kind of just have to practice with people.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and have some guidance and permission and invitations to bring that full humanity and the quirkiness and the mistakes and that repair will be there. It'll be facilitated if we can bring our curiosity to it. And that's part of what we're trying to do at Connect in our programming, right? Is
Absolutely.
like to create these spaces where even if social connection isn't like the name of the group,
Right.
that is a central
Yeah.
feature.
It seems like our programming is really being creative and finding ways to open up a safe way into connection. Like, oh, we can relate over poetry, or we can relate over some art that we made, and we don't really need to speak necessarily. We can just show our art and people can ooh and ah over it, and like that could be an opening for a conversation, which is a beautiful thing, to not have to have pressure in that way, to have a medium that we can relate and then find that connection.
How are you facilitating that at Connect?
So one of the spaces I hold is called Fascinated, which is all about our body's connective tissue. Obviously, about connective tissue at Connect Community Center. We're going to connect. Blah blah blah. So it's mainly an empowerment class. So people can.
What's fascia?
Fascia is our largest organ and system in the body. It connects us from skin to cell. I go more into the class. Basically, it's our integral system in our body, and when we're able to become aware of this anatomical knowledge, it empowers us to take control of our health. And I also teach empowerment movement. The scientific term is pandiculation, but it's a self-regulation tool that our body does, but the way that we're socialized to not be weird in society doesn't really allow us to connect with our body and ourself in that way. And I opened up this space for folks to come in and give themselves permission to be weird in front of others, and also be held in a safe, non-judgmental container to
Mutual weirdness.
Yeah, mutual weirdness. So we're all being weird together, and I, of course, am the demonstration of weirdness. So everyone comes in, and I'm the weird
Modeling
one.
weirdness.
So
with Dakota.
it's the art of permission, giving yourself permission to care for yourself organically throughout the day without feeling like, oh, I have to wait to get home to take care of myself. It's ways for us to feel empowered and taking control of our health. I, as a massage therapist, I hear it all the time. I don't know what's going on with my body. I don't know anything about my body. Well, you don't really need to know all the anatomy, but just knowing that like there's a way for you to check in with yourself on a very deep and connected way is important. So yeah, that's one of the spaces I'm holding at Connect.
You were talking earlier about how like our programming is just a way for people to practice connection. And I've hosted the poetry share, and that's been just every single time it's such a wonderful, we're come to talk about poetry, but we end up talking about life, love, relationships, politics, and everything in between. And I've had some like challenging conversations sometimes that we still are able to hold with humanity, and the people that were opposed like still come back. So it's just some good things happening. For sure.
Yeah, and there's a variety of spaces like that. We're not the only facilitators. We have a whole lineup of other practitioners who come in and host spaces. And it's always, shifting and changing because we go through series and different workshop series and whatnot. So always check the calendar.
Seasonal change.
Yes, but I have really enjoyed hosting the monthly ecstatic dance. We also have like seasonal ecstatic dances, but the connected ecstatic dance is one of those places where it is an intimate group. If you've ever been to an ecstatic dance, some of them are huge, 100 people, even 30 people, but this is a smaller group, and it gives us the time to really check in at the beginning, in the opening circle and in the closing circle. So we can go a little bit deeper and get into the feelings and move through the feelings and allow the music to move through us. And embrace that weirdness. I think it's a really unique space. 'Cause I've been to a lot of different ecstatic dances and like dance classes, and it's there's something special when the intention for connection is there, or even just the invitation. And beyond that, with coaching, especially group coaching that I host, we go deep. It's a transformational space. It's a space where you can change yourself, the way you think, the way you hold yourself, the way you show up, and the actions that you take in your life and your business or in your livelihood. So there's a whole variety of ways that we do we connect. And a new upcoming series that we're hosting that I would say is like an embodiment of the values that connect is our relational well-being series, which you can find out more about. We'll have another video that you can go check out, and a blog post that will tell you all about the relational well-being series, but we're excited about it.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, should we talk about some of the challenges that we're seeing holding this space for the community?
Yeah. So we have lots of good things going on at Connect. And we have been like holding it down kind of like on our own shoulders. And it's been hard. It's
been our very expensive hobby.
Yeah. And it costs a lot of money. I don't know if you haven't been through running a brick and mortar, you don't know how much it costs, and it costs a lot of money.
A lot of folks get startup capital through loans and stuff, and we definitely,
or investors, or
doing it out of our heart.
And it also takes time and energy. We're all running our own LLCs to be able to pay our bills and pay the bills of Connect. And the more support that we have, the more that we can give to Connect. And then just the energy of being a embodied, grounding presence in our programming is also not something that just comes out of thin air, right? We need the ability to take care of ourselves, be in community in our own ways, and receive support.
Totally.
Yeah, we really want to rehumanize healers and facilitators, as well as humans who deserve to receive care, and to be supported by the community.
And we really value being able to hold free, accessible spaces for the community, and it's almost nearly impossible to do that when we're solely funding it out of our pockets and donating our time. If you're saying, it's unsustainable for.
If you remember that, the impacts of social isolation are one of the most impacted groups is people who struggle with finances, and we have created the community supported well-being program just for that, to make a variety of our programming and services more accessible financially. So providing free and low cost services and events.
So we're making an invitation.
Yes, we're making an invitation
to the community to help us keep doing what we're doing sustainably.
And with that, the community supported well-being program is a beautiful foundation for us as a community to cooperate and collaborate on creating community well-being.
Absolutely.
We want to infuse that program with goodness and vitality and the spirit of the community. And so we're going to expand the program.
Yes.
Yes.
So our invitation is actually to a new membership program.
Yes.
Yes, a call for abundance. So we can provide these services
Our healing work,
and
yeah.
our healing work
And-
to people who can't afford it and to people who absolutely need it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And with that, for the community itself to invest into the center as a community center.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, do we want to go over each individual membership level?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. There's 4.
Yep. So there's 4.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is the root level at $10 a month, and that gives people 10% discounts on retail and select events. It also gives free access to blog posts and the connected ecstatic dance playlists and event recordings. Next, we have the mycelium level, which is $25 a month, and that gives 15% discounts on retail and those same events. Next, we have the fascia level at $50 a month. That's 20% off retail, off select events, and then additionally space rental. So if there is someone in the community that wants to be able to use the space, we have our rates that we have, and if you're already contributing $50 a month, then you get a discount on using that space.
Yes.
Also service perks, playlists, recordings, and free entry into the Relational Wellbeing series, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. And then finally, we have the community level. So if you are committed to redistributing resources, we have $100 a month. You can get 25% off retail, select events, and space rental. Service perks through all of our businesses, free playlists, a monthly gift, and then free entry into the Relational Wellbeing series as well.
Yes. So essentially,
Lovely.
all of the levels get access to some kind of discount, and the member area, which will have the links to all of the different playlists and recordings. And then as you go up, you get a little bit more.
Show a little bit more appreciation for your contribution.
For sure.
Yeah. Sounds lovely, y'all.
Yeah. So if you like today's talk and you want more awesome content like this and a whole variety of other offerings, you can find that in your membership portal when you become a community-supported well-being member of Connect. When you become a member, you invest in community well-being, you invest in your own well-being. So we invite you to become a member today at connectforwellbeing.com.